Our correspondent Akshay is joining us to get us more. Akshay, what do you make of how do we expect the days ahead to pan out, even as we see that strikes from both the sides continue?
Well, what we are seeing in terms of opposition coming in from Spain, the kind of stand that it has taken, as far as the days ahead to come are concerned, so as far as geopolitics, NATO relations, European relations are concerned with in relation to this war, you can see more fractures coming up, given the fact that the entire basis of launching this air raid strikes against Iranian regime, strikes against Iranian leadership, has not been founded on a very solid ground, as much as we have seen the earlier conflicts that have taken place. So you have no clear timeline, you have no clear agenda, you have no clear objectives, and that perhaps is the reason why. Many are questioning the strikes overall that have been conducted against Iran, that have wiped out the Iranian leadership, especially Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, and given the UN Charter, given the rule-based order of the world, most of these actions that have taken place against Iran were sort of crossing that line as far as negotiations are concerned, because talks were already on. Next round of talks in Geneva were slated to take place, and this is not just being seen by Spain, but many of the European allies, many of the NATO allies of the US have also questioned the entire basis of the conflict. That includes Canada to a certain extent. You have other countries as well who have said that they were not consulted before the strikes happened. That includes France, that it includes UK. However, how the situation is going to turn out in the future is still difficult to say, because NATO still heavily relies on the US as far as its own security needs are concerned, and we have administration in the US that is now actively urging the NATO allies and the allies that it has in the European Union to back its, not only back its conflict, but also to send support in terms of men and material. So that is going to become a sticking point, because and not just in geopolitics, but at the local home front as well for the US president. Because if this or you call it conflict, goes on for more than 4 to 5 weeks, the timeline that is given by Donald Trump, which it most likely would, because the kind of drone production that Iran is capable of, it can really inflict a larger damage for a much longer period of time. If US cannot win in a country like Afghanistan, that was much more poorer, much more technologically backward than Iran, then you can only imagine the kind of devastation this conflict will have. And if it stretches on for longer, it is going to create a big problem for if nobody else but Donald Trump, because he has midterm elections coming in November, and this conflict, if it loses more American lives or goes on for longer, then the question will be raised that why did the US had to get involved in the first place?
All right, Akshay, we leave it here. Thank you so much for that analysis.